Welcome to the boardroom. Go ahead and take a seat. Listen, today we are not looking at your 2025 Cambridge Arabic Language 8680 essay preparation as just another high school assignment. We're throwing that mindset right out the window. Instead, we are treating it exactly like what it actually is, a high-stakes, million-dollar corporate pitch. I am your managing director for this session, and I can tell you right now from years of experience, Cambridge examiners are the toughest venture capitalists you will ever sit across from. Seriously, they reject poorly framed proposals instantly. They scrutinize weak data structures without an ounce of mercy. And they only, and I mean only, invest at a top-band A-star grades in candidates who can deliver bulletproof corporate-level evaluative reasoning. So in this explainer, we are running a full C-suite grade proposal audit on your essay strategy. Why? Because linguistic fluency in Arabic alone is not going to save you if your underlying arguments lack architectural structure. Over the course of this session, we're going to lock down your structural frameworks, we're going to calibrate your data analytics, and we will ensure your final pitch secures the absolute maximum valuation on the executive value meter. Let's get down to business.
Here's a quick look at today's boardroom itinerary. We're kicking off with the boardroom briefing, then assessing your core assets, spotting exam liabilities, implementing the method strategy, moving into critical asset valuation, and wrapping up with a final compliance audit.
All right, Section 1. The Boardroom Briefing, 2025 Market Opportunities.
Okay, let's dive right into this. For the 2025 examination cycle, Cambridge has defined 5 specific target sectors you absolutely need to dominate. I want you to think of these not as boring essay topics, but as distinct market opportunities. If you walk into the exam hall and you don't know the terrain of the market you're pitching to, your proposal is dead on arrival. Here are your 5 core sectors: human relationships, philosophy and belief, work and leisure, education, and conservation. Memorizing these is your very first compliance check. In fact, I challenge you right now to create a corporate core values mnemonic using the first letters, H, P, W, E, C. Something like high-performing workers earn cash. Whatever works for your brain, just lock it in. You must systematically build specific Arabic vocabulary banks and real-world cultural case studies for each of these 5 domains to establish total market dominance before you even pick up a pen.
Moving right along to Section 2, Core Assets, the Cognitive Domains.
Now think about the stock market for a second. A truly successful candidate acts like a perfectly diversified portfolio. You must demonstrate equal competence across 3 distinct cognitive domains, represented here: knowledge and understanding, analysis, and evaluation. To put this into perspective, let me tell you a story about 2 junior consultants I recently oversaw during a mock pitch session. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex comes into the boardroom and provides massive volumes of raw factual data. I mean, just pure, unadulterated knowledge. But Alex utterly failed to evaluate any of the market risks. So what happened? The examiner rejected the proposal instantly as a descriptive liability. Then you have Sam. Sam spoke incredibly fast, pitching brilliant, creative concepts, pure evaluation. But Sam lacked specific Arabic text case studies to back any of it up. No hard asset backing whatsoever. The result? The examiner rejected it as an unbacked liability. The takeaway here is simple. You need all 3 slices of this pie to secure the deal. You can't just lean on what you're good at. You need the full spectrum.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is how you synthesize these domains. And this quote, pulled directly from the principal examiner reports, is your golden ticket. It says, candidates referencing cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. What does that mean for you? Well, if your exam prompt is fundamentally about work and leisure, and you can seamlessly weave in a highly analytical point about how modern corporate work culture impacts human relationships, which is another core sector entirely, you just activated a massive return on investment multiplier. It proves to the Board of Examiners that you have a connected, high-level conceptual understanding that transcends basic rote memorization. It shows you see the whole board, not just the single square you're standing on.
All right, Section 3, Spotting Exam Liabilities, the Risk Report.
Every good corporate strategy needs a solid risk assessment. Based on our historical data mined from past Cambridge Principal Examiner reports, here are the top 3 major compliance breaches that cause catastrophic mark drops. Number 1, forgetting proper format. Number 2, skipping presentation checks. And number 3, this is the absolute deadliest sin of all, providing generic, out-of-context answers. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you get a prompt asking specifically about the impact of digital media on education in the Arab world. A standard, low-tier candidate goes in and writes a pre-memorized, completely generic essay about how computers are generally good or bad. Guys, that is a massive, glaring liability. You are answering a question that wasn't asked, and your valuation will plummet.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference on the ground. When we project a high-tariff Cambridge past paper question on the primary display, the split in candidate performance is obvious. On one side, we have the liability response. This is a descriptive text block. It just lists random facts, completely ignoring the specific constraints of the Cambridge command word. Missing a single subtle keyword in the prompt triggers an immediate evaluation crash on the marking grid. Conversely, look at the asset response. This is an executive analytical pitch. It directly references the specific scenario provided, actively analyzing the nuances. It doesn't just describe what happened, it aggressively explains why it matters in this exact cultural and educational context.
I need you to treat this specific examiner alert like a direct, non-negotiable mandate from the CEO. Read it with me. Always link every point to the given scenario, literally every single one. If you write a beautifully worded, grammatically flawless paragraph on philosophy and belief, but it doesn't explicitly and aggressively answer the hyper-specific question asked on that exam paper, your executive value meter drops to zero. Zero. It is completely wasted capital. You might as well have left the page blank.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Method Strategy Procedural Framework.
We call this the method mark strategy. Basically, it means earning your academic valuation by clearly demonstrating the rigorous procedural process, not just jumping straight to the final conclusion. In the corporate world, if you just give a wild profit projection without showing the math, you're getting laughed out of the room. It's the same here. Showing your analytical working is just as profitable, if not more so, than the final answer itself. You have to prove the underlying mechanics of your argument directly on the page.
Okay, so here's the mandatory 5-step standardized sequence that takes raw factual data and engineers it into an A-star asset. Identify, apply, execute, verify, and present. Remember our junior consultants Alex and Sam? Well, backstage, they were trying to merge their respective assets to create the ultimate joint venture paragraph. And let me tell you, it was a mess. They were debating the structural architecture of the layout. Alex kept trying to overload the opening with dense technical dictionary definitions. Sam was fighting to pivot immediately into an analytical counter-argument to maximize their market accumulation. They were totally deadlocked, and their evidence beam was losing market compliance fast. Actually, before we see how they fix this and secure a top-band valuation, let's make sure your personal academic assets are properly managed. Subscribe to Ace the Exams right now and turn on all notifications. Whether your focus is Cambridge IGCS, O-Levels, AS, or A-Levels, this explainer series is your weekly reserved board seat to secure elite grades. Anyway, back to Alex and Sam. I had to step in as MD and initiate a structural power-up template, the PEEL framework. Point, evidence, explain, link. I made them rewrite the response out loud, line by line. Alex's heavy dictionary definitions, we repackaged those strictly as the evidence. Sam's wild counterarguments, we seamlessly slotted those into the explanation phase. By following this strict operational workflow, they transformed a disorganized debate into a highly regulated million-dollar asset.
And we absolutely cannot forget step 5 of that sequence, presentation. You must pass the visual audit. Your examiner is exhausted. They are reviewing thousands of proposals. Strict presentation compliance is non-negotiable. This means using proper headings where appropriate, flawless academic terminology, correct essay formats, and crystal clear paragraphing and annotation. Think about it. If your proposal looks chaotic on the page, the investor automatically assumes your thinking is chaotic. Clean it up.
Now for Section 5, Critical Asset Valuation, Higher Order Assessment.
Let's run a live interactive compliance audit right now. This table represents the absolute highest tier of the marking grid, the elite, evaluative thinking required to actually secure the deal. Notice the 3 cognitive levels. Descriptive candidates merely identify basic elements. Analytical candidates step it up and compare approaches. But evaluative candidates, the ones hitting the A-star bracket, they actively question assumptions and justify their recommendations with hard, undeniable evidence. Let's do an asset inventory scan. Say we have a case study on conservation. A descriptive candidate points out that pollution is rising. Simple. An analytical candidate looks at the data and says, well, pollution is rising much faster in urban areas than rural areas. Better. But an evaluative candidate, they say, while urban pollution appears statistically higher, this assumes rural reporting mechanisms are equally robust and transparent, which historical data proves they are not. Boom! That nuance, that questioning of the premise itself is exactly how you hit the million-dollar value mark.
To consistently achieve that elite evaluative state, you need to follow the exact mathematical formula for comparative analysis. It is not just about shrugging and saying 2 things are kind of different. No. Comparative analysis equals identifying similarities plus identifying differences, plus using specific comparative connectives, plus supporting each claim with evidence. Both sides of the coin must be mapped out. And a quick insider tip, using highly sophisticated Arabic comparative connectives is an absolute must here to demonstrate your language mastery to the board. If you follow this formula, your structural architecture becomes entirely bulletproof.
Time for the Spot the Liability audit. The ultimate C-suite candidates stress test their own evidence. You can't just present a quote and walk away. You do this by actively seeking out the limitations of your own data. You must question the assumptions made by the exam prompt or the provided sources. You must explicitly write out alternative interpretations and then mathematically measure exactly how those alternatives affect your final conclusion. When Alex and Sam finally presented their newly engineered flawless response paragraph doing exactly this, their executive value meter hit the maximum band. Why? Because they didn't just passively accept the data, they rigorously interrogated it. Finally, Section 6, the final compliance audit. Time to secure the deal.
We've covered a lot today. We did the due diligence scan to decode the prompt, the resource allocation matrix to perfectly balance your cognitive domains, and now the final review checklist. Look at this number. Here is the single most important metric on your dashboard: 100%. 100% of your points, 100% of your evidence, and 100% of your evaluation must link directly back to the core contextual scenario to survive the final audit. If even 10% of your essay drifts into a generic, pre-rehearsed memory dump, you have breached compliance, and you will be heavily penalized. Stay focused, stay on brief, do not deviate.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative assessment for the board. I want you to look at your current drafts. Look at your study notes for Cambridge Arabic Language 8680. Honestly ask yourself, is your next essay a generic market liability destined for the examiner's rejection pile? Or have you applied this rigorous corporate due diligence to engineer a $1 million A-star asset? The choice and the strategic execution is entirely in your hands.
Remember, your academic assets are only as valuable as the structural framework holding them together. So as you gear up for the 8680 exam, ask yourself, are you just reporting to the board, or are you ready to run the company? Master the domains, stress test your arguments, and present an undeniable proposal. Subscribe to Ace the Exams, enable the notification bell so you never miss a weekly board session, and drop a comment below right now stating your target grade, your qualification tier, and your subject. The boardroom is yours. Class dismissed.